Well, hello everyone. This is Chrystal Lynn coming to you from Southern California, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to take a look on what is going on up in the sky tonight. Today is September 25th, 2018, and we're taking a look at the full moon in Aries. The sun is in Libra, so obviously the full moon is going to be at the opposite sign. So if the sun is in Libra, then the full moon will be in Aries. So just want to clarify those things. And just, it's been hard for me to really get grounded in this energy. It's like I want to come out here and I want to be like super professional and super like, here's my points, and not ramble on and not look like I'm crazy. I just want to try and come out with this professional approach. Just clarity in my approach, shall I say. But you know what? That's not always how life works. And that's not what is always comfortable for us. We've been through a lot the last year and a half with the North Node in Leo, because that really takes us to a place where we're really looking at our self-confidence, our self-worth, our credibility, our respect. Have we earned respect? Should we demand respect? Should we, have situations where we work towards having respect? And all of those questions, all of the answer to those questions is yes. And it's hard because we live in a world, that's really been saturated in looking at psychological personality disorders. Especially, since Jupiter has been in Scorpio, again, since this time last year. When Jupiter goes into Scorpio, it's really expanding, looking at things behind the veil. Often in life we have to, something may come at us and it makes us feel a little uncomfortable, but because we have to live in a civilized society, we often, look the other way or try not to react. People just, tell us, don't react, don't let them get the best of you, don't let them make you feel anything. And is that really common sense? I mean, it's what we wish could happen every time, right? It's what we know, or at least the energy around us this last year and a half with North Node in Leo has been about, is about saying, who are we? Along with Uranus in Aries the last 7 years, we've also had this very intense search for our identities. So when you start talking about things like self-confidence, and then you start talking about things, like how we feel, and looking at the psychological nature of everything, things can get really intense. Things go to a deeper level. We're no longer able to be superficial. And so I'm just trying to read tonight, as I look at the chart and kind of bring up some things as they appear to me. Just kind of take a look at the psychology of what's going on astrologically. How are we feeling? How are we experiencing it? I want to go back to Jupiter in Scorpio right now. And also, right now, as we speak, Venus is in Scorpio. Now, there's a lot of talk about Venus right now and how this is... we're headed into a retrograde of Venus, which is very, very special. It's a very, very important cycle. And so we're at this pivotal moment that Jupiter in Scorpio at the 21st degree is really having us look deep and having us respond to our feelings and our emotions, to respond to... Maybe that doesn't sound bad, but my stomach's turning. You know what I mean? Maybe they didn't say that, but I just feel like somebody stabbed me in the heart. And most of us who are searching out astrology, you know, we've experienced this. Most of us are empaths. Most of us are connected to the things that are happening around us. We can feel other people. You know, even tonight, right now, as we speak, Neptune is still retrograde in Pisces. Now, I have a lot of Pisces in my chart. I have the moon and my ascendant there. And I have, you know, Neptune right now is in my 12th house. Of all of those things, deeply saturated in psychology, deeply saturated in our spirituality. What do we believe? What do we share with others? What do we want to hold private? Needing that time alone. Also, because it's retrograde, it can affect things like your mind. Like, honestly, this whole video is driving me crazy right now because I'm, you know, my memory isn't as clear. I'm searching for those answers that normally flow out of me. And with Neptune retrograde, it's kind of like this, it slows things down as they're coming in. So often it feels a little bit awkward, but at the same time, this is it. I mean, I am a representation, or hope to be, of the energy that's going on up in the sky. So if I can take a look at it and take a look at the deep, you know, the deep nature underneath it, then I think it might help you guys as well to know that this is normal, that feeling things deeply is okay. You know, a lot of people think feeling is weak, or expressing your feelings is weak, or that you're falling apart, or that you're not strong, or, you know, feelings are uncomfortable for so many people. But with Jupiter and now Venus in Scorpio, oh my gosh, it's like, you know, the veil is lifted and we can see through to the other side. On a deeper level, it's more about seeing people's intentions. So right now, you know, a lot of things are being shown to us, and it's the ability to trust yourself. Often we lose trust in ourselves because so many people, we go to share something and then they question us, or they make us doubt ourselves. And then in the end, we were right, it turned out, but then nobody wants to make a big deal out of that. So it's not about being right. It's about trusting yourself right now more than ever. Okay? Right now, as we speak, as well, is Chiron is retrograding back into Pisces. And wow, again, thinking about last summer, thinking about last year, about the 28th to 29th degree of Chiron in Pisces. Oh my gosh, for so many people, it just brought to the surface all of our fears, all of our anxieties, all of our anxious feelings, all of our stress, the need to really break out and break through and not allow anymore, and to, you know, understand the level of toxicity that can really affect us, whether it's emotional or relational or spiritual. A lot of things come into us, and having the ability to sort through them is difficult, especially when there's so many people that, you know, have another agenda, that they just don't feel that security and confidence within themselves, and they seem to want to take everybody else down with them. And so, you know, we have a lot of that going on right now. A lot of people feeling stuck, you know, and not able to move forward into this new, the energy right now that's being birthed that we've never seen before. And so those of us that are allowing the healing, that are allowing the hard feelings, the hurtful feelings, remembering the pain, remembering the psychological abuse, remembering those things in our childhood, that's what's to the surface, because the universe is wanting to continue to do those final purgings for those of us who are allowing this process, allowing ourselves to go there, to not be afraid to, you know, okay, this happened to me. I have been avoiding it my whole life. I don't like to think about it. I don't like to look back, but it keeps, you know, coming into my mind. These things that I don't normally think about, or you're finding things from your childhood. from history, your history, that are bringing up emotions. This is what's going on. The universe honestly wants us to come to a place where we can genuinely, finally let go of the extreme baggage that we've all held on to for so long. So, Mars is in Aquarius right now, which is allowing us to talk about it, allowing us to maybe find groups to help us through certain things that maybe we thought, weren't bothering us or we were okay with. A few years ago, I found out that my dad that raised me was not my biological dad. So that's really a shock to your whole mindset of life, a shock of, it's a trauma because you believe something your whole life. And when that gets ripped out from underneath you, you're standing there with, what is my identity? It begins to just spiral with, oh my gosh, I'm not related to these people, and who are my family, and then not being able to really see them. It's very, very difficult. And so for me, going through that kind of thing took a lot of healing. It took a lot for me to really look in and within and face those things in my life. So, I've been willing to do it. I've been willing to do it. And, it's good to have somebody you can communicate with. I've had a therapist this year, and you know what? Best thing I ever did, because they don't know me. Although she loves my astrology, she doesn't, read charts, so she can't just prejudge me. She's a Scorpio, so Jupiter and Scorpio brought me in a mentor, a teacher, a Scorpio. Jupiter represents the teacher and the mentor. And it's just been an amazing time for me to actually listen to myself. And some of those old repeating stories and cycles, actually, once you start telling someone else, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, that doesn't really sound right, does it? And you've been dwelling on it all these years, but getting it out in the open, getting it out on the table, finding safe people to do that with right now. Your circle can be very, very specific. For me right now, I am so energetically sensitive to other people's stuff going on right now that I have to really pay attention to where I move my feet and how I allow that energy to, immerse with mine. Where for many years, I didn't pay attention to those things. I just made myself completely available. I had a really great time at the moment. It felt really good. And then I get home and I'm sick for 3 days because I have put so much energy out. And, I just can't do that anymore because I want to do some really valuable things in my life. And I realize that, nobody's really going to care about or love my life more than I do. And if we're dealing with a lot of self-hate or, low self-confidence, or we're dealing with just wanting to give up, just wanting to shut down, frustrated with what we see out there, this is the time to really begin to develop a very, very special inner world. So often we live our whole life in the outer persona, what others think of us. We need others to encourage us. We need others to appreciate us. And when we don't get this constant, what shall I say, this constant feeding, the need for somebody else to provide us with that confidence that we're okay, that we're accepted, right? To be able to really come to a place where you allow the healing, you allow yourself to even say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that, 10 years ago, or wow. I've had to say to myself, wow, looking back at some things as a young adult, that was really insensitive. And I allowed other people to encourage me in a direction. And I really didn't consider how insensitive those things were to other people. Could I have done things different as a young girl? I just didn't understand it. As a 50-year-old woman, I can look back now and go, wow, just the self-focus on what you're doing as a young adult, that's all that matters. And as you begin to look back and you're going through, these deep healing cycles with Chiron and Pisces, going back there right now, that really is bringing to the surface the floodgates of our emotional beings and our spiritual beings. Even having to look back or being willing to look back at some of the things that we've believed or given our life to spiritually, and to find out that it may not all have been exactly as we thought it was. All of those things can be very damaging to our being on the outside. But when you go through this amazing deep healing, you start to have this inner world that nobody can rattle. And you begin to learn how to get there. It's like zeroing out to this place that's safe. And that you bring everything down, you go back to zero, you remind yourself of who you are and what you're doing and what you're here for, and to take that breath and not be drowning in your surroundings. When that really comes together and you understand it, you begin to, love your inner world, where you can create, where you can write, where you can dream, where you can talk to yourself and nurture yourself and be compassionate to yourself. Those are things that we actually do need in this day and time. When I was raised, we were taught, don't think about yourself. Don't, put yourself last. Those things are very, ensconced in our DNA, especially my generation, Pluto and Virgo. It was really all about serving others and not putting yourself first. And that it was really believed, especially spiritually, the way I was raised, that thinking about yourself was actually very selfish. And on all levels, you had to put the other person first. And now we're finding out, as we look back, that for so many of us, it was like a very draining, a very imbalanced, a very toxic relationships. And when you start to ground yourself and you start to feel that self-love that's not about making yourself so incredible, but it's about a necessity so that you truly can be there for others. And even if you're not there for others, you can truly be there for yourself. Sometimes you just need to have self-care so you can get up and be there for yourself. Giving ourselves permission. So, I don't want to go in too deep, too far, but I want to say happy full moon in Aries. Also be aware, Chiron is moving back as we speak, 0 degrees into Pisces. Taurus, or Uranus, is moving from Taurus back into Aries. So we've got all this really interesting stuff coming back, and it has a lot to do with the last couple of years that we've been in, okay? So this can be healing. This can be a time to look at it. This can be a time to really be excited that, I'm so much better. I'm seeing the world in such a better place. Or if you're not, to go back and really revisit it. What's going on that you're not any better, that you're not feeling better? Okay, these are deep reconditionings of our life, release of so much emotional baggage and old patterns of thinking. That's very scary when you start to give up your old patterns of thinking. They make us secure. But right now, go with it, flow with it, just become liquid. Neptune and Pisces, as it goes direct in November, helps us to become liquid. When you hit an obstacle, just swim around it, just float around it, and don't get stuck. Don't get angst, which I'm telling you, because as a Virgo, that's my favorite thing to do. But I just wanted to touch base with you guys. Hope everything's going well. Email me, crystallyn68@gmail.com, if you'd like a reading. I'd love to take a look at your chart, and have a great night. I hope this is a strong turning point for all of you. All right. Happy full moon.